Hello, and welcome to episode 31 of the Women in Manufacturing Association's Hear Her Story podcast. In this episode, we're thrilled to highlight not one, but three inspirational women who are making an impact for women in manufacturing. Our area of focus for this episode is Manufacturing Day, with an emphasis on this year's Manufacturing Day message and theme of Creators Wanted. The special edition of the Hear Her Story podcast was also recorded live at the 2023 Women in Manufacturing Summit held in San Diego, California. I hope you enjoyed this episode. That hiccup. So welcome to our Hear Her Story podcast, the podcast produced by the Women in Manufacturing Association, celebrating women in careers in manufacturing. We are so excited to celebrate Manufacturing Day year-round in the great industry of manufacturing, but as well to have the special opportunity to celebrate this year's Manufacturing Day with three amazing women in industry. For this episode of Hear Her Story, I am joined by three individuals who will share their story in manufacturing, as well as how they rose in industry, some of the experiences along their way, and they'll share some advice for either current people in manufacturing, as well as maybe those looking to enter a manufacturing career in the future. Our guests for this episode include Belinda Black, Director of Chemical Product Engineering at Canon Virginia, Inc., Coral Warren, Value Improvement Process Project Engineer at Polaris Industries, and Kaitlin Perkins, Manufacturing Supervisor in Gene Therapy at Pfizer. So we'll start with each of these individuals sharing a little bit about how they first found manufacturing, and then as well their timeline to how they got to their current position. So why don't we first start with you, Coral?
Thank you. My name is Coral Warren. I'm a project engineer with Polaris, focusing on engineering process improvement. My journey in engineering started at a very young age. I grew up in Southeast Michigan. Both my parents were in manufacturing. I started in manufacturing part-time when I was 16, so it's been a long ride for me. And at the same time, had the opportunity to be in a math and science program that really got me down that path towards STEM and manufacturing, and really just kind of took it from there. So I don't know if that's really happenstance or by design or somewhere in between, but just the way that it kind of all fell into place is kind of how it goes. But went to school at Western Michigan University, and then worked as an industrial engineer for a couple automotive suppliers for a number of years before I came to Polaris. The transition to Polaris was really a big pivot point for me. For one thing, I packed up and moved from Michigan to Alabama, so that's a big change right there. But making the shift kind of away from more directly supporting production into more of a corporate role was a big change. And then also shifting from focusing on process design to product design was also a big transition. So it was a lot of different changes kind of all happening at once. But it really kind of set me up for kind of the role that I'm in now as I've been able to transition, because I have a unique combination of experience from the process side as well as the product side, and a little bit of, the people aspect of things too, from the engineering standpoint as well as assembly. And so now I'm able to focus on engineering processes, which is kind of a unique combination of things, and it's been really exciting so far.
Cool. And your current role that you have, so for people who maybe don't understand what value improvement process project engineering is, what is that?
It's a very long way of saying continuous improvement. It is just value improvement processes, the Polaris terminology for lean continuous improvement group, whatever you want to call that. And so I manage projects within that larger scope, but more specifically now I focus on the continuous improvement for engineering processes specifically.
Great. And I love that you shared you started at age 16, and your vehicle to get into this industry was the STEM education program. Interestingly enough, we do research annually with Thomas's Xometry Company. We've done it for 3 years now annually, and our research has shown that the top way to attract people into the industry is through any type of STEM education initiative and or formalized program. So you were evidence of that working and helping to introduce people to manufacturing careers. So it's really cool.
Thank
and
you.
Such a young age to have first entered.
Yes.
So next we'll listen and hear from you, Belinda. Tell us a little bit about your story of how you entered and found manufacturing and what your careers look like today.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Allison, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate the opportunity. So my name is Belinda Black. I work for Cannon, Virginia. I'm the director of the Chemical Product Engineering Division there, and I've worked there for almost 28 years. So my journey started back in college. I didn't really know much about manufacturing, but my college and the Association for Mechanical Engineering had a student program where they worked with the local manufacturers, and they gave us opportunities to tour some of the manufacturing facilities. So I had an opportunity to tour places like the Chrysler Research and Development Center, Ball Metal, which makes the soda cans, and the Ford engine plant. And after having that opportunity to see how things were made and the automation involved, I was just sold. It was something that I really wanted to get involved with. And so that kind of kicked off my career. So I started as an entry-level engineer, which afforded me the opportunity to learn how important design was, first of all, and how parts needed to go together, and was it designed for manufacturing is a very important key, and learning how important material selection was. I also had the opportunity to learn how the parts were made, so injection molding, metal stamping, metal fabrication, and then I was able to do problem solving or problem investigation. I just really loved trying to figure out those complex problems and having the opportunity to do the root cause analysis and fix the problem. So as I've grown in my career, have climbed the ladder, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of different startups of different projects. And that's been a passion of mine as well. I've been both an engineer and a lead to start up some of the projects. And that has afforded me the opportunity to also develop the business side, to be more of a business acumen, and which has allowed me to kind of grow into where I am today as a director, to be able to establish our goals and objectives, our midterm plans. But I feel like my most important role as the director is to be able to coach, mentor, and teach my members so that they can grow and blossom in their career path.
That's great. Thank you, Belinda. And next, Kaitlin.
Alrighty. Hello, everyone. My name is Kaitlin Perkins. And for me, I did not think I would ever end up in manufacturing. So I was studying at North Carolina State University, and it was not until my senior year, actually, that I realized I did not want to go and get my PhD and do research. And here I am about to graduate, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do next? Because I thought I had my whole life kind of figured out. And I ended up graduating with my degree in biological engineering. And I interviewed for Pfizer, and luckily they accepted me, and I had that opportunity to grow there, where I've been for the past 4 years. And I started in their rotational development program, so this was a great opportunity for me to work in different areas within a manufacturing facility and really get a better idea of what I like to do, and maybe also what I didn't like so much. And I started in our validation group, so I was an equipment validation engineer. I did that as my first rotation for 6 months, and then I moved on to our technical operations group, where I was working in shipping and cleaning validation. And from there, I went to manufacturing, and I remember speaking with my manager, and I was like, I don't really know if I should even do that rotation. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I don't think I really fit in over there. I talk different. I looked different. I was like, I don't know if, that's a place for me. And I got over there, and I have been there ever since. So I actually ended up going from my 3rd rotation all the way into my 4th. I just extended it because I really enjoyed being on that manufacturing floor and problem solving. So I worked as a process engineer for 2 years within our commercial and clinical trial space. And then now I currently work as a supervisor within our purification suite within gene therapy. And that's what I've been doing for the past year now.
Purification suite, gene therapy. What is that?
Yeah.
It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, how I essentially like to explain it to people, so you go from fermentation, so you're growing up all those cells, and then when it gets over to purification, we're just trying to purify that product as much as possible. So we have a lot of chromatography steps and filtration steps. That's a way to summarize it.
Well, I'm sure things have been busy for you folks at Pfizer over the last 2 years, given some of the things that have unfortunately impacted lots of us with pandemic. So this year, the theme of Manufacturing Day, which again is the first Friday in October each year annually, is Creators Wanted. So what does this theme of Creators Wanted mean to each of you as you reflect on being yourself a creator and a contributor in manufacturing? And also, why do you think Manufacturing Day is so important for us to celebrate and recognize? So I'm not sure who would like to start.
I'll start.
Okay.
Okay, so when I think of manufacturing, I think of the past, the present, the future, and beyond. And manufacturing is a doorway for all creations. So that's really how it's tied together. So if you think about something such as the phone and the evolution of it, it's been 140 years. The original device, though, was just a device that transmitted sound. That was it. And then think about how it's innovated into everybody's homes. You know, probably for you youngsters, your grandparents had the home phone and that, and you know, so everybody was able to make phone calls. And then it was later the innovation developed into the cell phones, where we could take it with us. We could always have a phone with us to talk to somebody. And now it's revolutionized into what we know today as a multimedia device. So it's a phone, a computer, a camera. And so what do you think of? Where do you think of the next generation of the phone? What's the future? What's beyond? You know, there's a lot of probably medical applications that will be integrated with wearables and that. But it's just amazing to think about how things can continue to have continuous improvement and innovation. And so, but it's not possible without manufacturing. That creation or creator has to have the ability for their product to be able to be manufactured. And so the manufacturers have the unique opportunity to actually develop the process and help those creators bring their product to fruition. So it's just, you know, and it's an amazing cycle. And so as far as Manufacturing Day, you know, Allison shared earlier, we're about 30% women in manufacturing. And so as far as getting the word out there for manufacturers to educate the community, if you think of any field at all, you can find it in manufacturing. And you know, that's what's so unique about manufacturing, but people don't know. And so now is just an amazing time to really get involved into manufacturing, because people are reshoring to the US. And so, you know, the technologies and the opportunity is just endless.
Definitely is.
If someone came up to me, a woman came up to me asking me if she should join the apprenticeship program, I would definitely recommend her to join the apprenticeship program. It's a good opportunity for women, and it needs to be more women in the apprenticeship program.
I have a toddler at home, so my career here at GE has made it possible for us to live a comfortable lifestyle.
Okay. I would definitely recommend the program here for apprenticeship at Perkins and Clay because there's so many that they can get into, and our program is very also flexible with what they want to do with scheduling and families and stuff like that. I feel it's very achievable to achieve goals in this program.
Yes, I definitely recommend women to join an apprenticeship program because jumping straight into like a shop floor job is intimidating, especially if you're looking for a career change and this is something new to you and everything like that. Walking into a building when you're interviewing and just seeing a room full of guys just working away is kind of intimidating. So getting to join that program and having the opportunity to work with people on a personal level and then also get to move around and see like, oh, there are more women here. They're just like working in these jobs versus those jobs, which is totally okay. It's reassuring and it gives you more of that foundation and more of that security.
So I think as you shared, Manufacturing Day is just one day of many that we can highlight innovation, technology, the evolution of how we make things. I think is so very cool. And I think one of the biggest pieces that I know is encouraged in Manufacturing Day is to really open up facilities to families, community members, to parents, to educators so they can see what modern manufacturing looks like. Because it sure looks a lot different from when I went on my first plant tour 20 years ago. And I think it's that excitement level to get people to see this is how things really are made and produced, and here's the technology that's being used to do so. So I think it's very important, and for people like you to share your story around manufacturing. So Coral or Kaitlin, kind of what are your thoughts around this year's theme of Creators Wanted, and how do you feel personally about being a contributor, creator in this manufacturing space?
Yeah, I'll go. It's interesting because I kind of took a different thought process to this one, and especially because I think I have experienced this a lot. Even just yesterday, I had somebody that I was talking to that was talking about how they don't know if they really feel like they're in manufacturing because they're not an engineer. And it's kind of sad, but it's kind of true that a lot of people, I think, associate manufacturing just with engineering and designing and building products. But I love the Creators Wanted piece because there are so many things that get created that are necessary for manufacturing before you even get to creating an actual product, right? You need to create product designs, process designs, manufacturing, but also marketing materials, and you need to create teams and logistical plans and packaging and all of these other pieces that go into that thing that you put on the shelf that you sell to people, right? There are so many different things that have to be created that doesn't require an engineering degree or being on the assembly line. There's just a lot of different things, and I love that this just feels really inclusive to all the different functions that go into supporting manufacturing and producing things. So,
Cool.
Yeah.
I want to go off of what you were talking about, Coral, about that creativity aspect and having people from different backgrounds within manufacturing. Because I think it's funny now, thinking back to when I was in high school, I did not want to be an engineer at all because I thought that I was way too creative and extroverted to be an engineer. And it was my godmother, who was actually an electrical engineer. She was like, Kaitlin, you're great at math and science. Like, you can do it. And I was like, no, they just wear hard hats. And I don't want to wear a hard hat. I don't want to sit at my desk and do those sorts of things. And then now, fast forward to where I am now in my career and seeing how I'm still able to use that creativity that I have within me and being able to optimize, processes and figure out how I can have better synergy within my team. And it's something where if you even are an inquisitive person, that you have a place also within manufacturing. As you said, you don't have to be an engineer. I have people that are on my team that were firefighters, people that worked at hair salons, and we all bring such a unique perspective when we come into work, and that's something that is very important, to not just have diversity in like different demographics, but also just the way in which we think. So that's definitely very important, and I'm excited to be able to, celebrate women in manufacturing, and then also Manufacturing Day, just highlighting the importance of having that diversity.
Excellent. So as we talk about those critical factors, or what are those things that are the right ingredients to help retain women in manufacturing, as well as to help us advance in this industry, one of those key ingredients is often mentorship. So someone having and identifying a mentor, imparting this great advice and wisdom to a next generation of talent. So as you reflect on your careers in manufacturing, might you be willing to share how did mentorship play a role in your career journey and trajectory, whether it be as a mentee or mentor? And as well, what advice would you give to people who haven't yet explored mentorship?
I'll start with this one. So I had the very fortunate privilege to be involved in the creation of a mentorship program within the Women's Resource Group within Polaris. So in 2020, we started a mentorship program just within our women's network. We are in the midst of matching our 4th round of participants right now, and I'm really excited. We had over 140 employees sign up across 19 locations around the world.
Wow, that's great. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yes. Super exciting, especially considering it started with like 4 women on a conference call trying to just figure out how to get like more than 3 people to sign up. So it's really exciting, and it's been so fun to watch the growth and the connections that have happened over that time. Personally, I have been actually matched up with 4 ladies, 2 mentees and 2 mentors, all 4 of them from different locations and different functions all around the world, which has been really cool. It's been mutually beneficial for all of them, I think. It's been really great to be able to really just connect with people. I think the most exciting thing, and one thing that we focus really hard on when we're doing the matching process, is intentionally, like we have a team of representatives from HR from a variety of different business functions and units, so that we can try to identify folks that wouldn't really have crossed paths before. And so we try really hard to connect people. There's dozens of teams, especially with large companies like ours, we have 16,000 plus people around the world. There's probably dozens of teams that I still don't even know exist. I've certainly learned about a lot of them just through this mentorship program and all the people involved. And that's been really the cool part, is when you're such a large company, it can be really hard to feel connected and even know what other kinds of teams and opportunities there are. And so this has allowed us to, put people together that would never have otherwise even known that those teams existed, and now have whole new opportunities and friends in different places. And so it's been really exciting to see the growth, and I'm excited to continue on with that.
So one question, that mentorship vein of your formalized program that your company has executed and now launched, how do you do that with so many facilities and so many employees? Is it an electronic tool you're using? Is it virtual meetups?
Getting harder and harder.
I'm sure other companies are exploring how do we facilitate internal company mentoring. So how have you folks executed it?
Thus far, it has been 100% manual, and it is getting more and more difficult each year because of the growth that we've seen. We are looking into some different tools, especially the HRIS system that we have. We're looking into. They have apparently a mentorship application within their system that we're potentially looking at bringing in. But I think for one thing, at this point, it's been totally manually, and I think going forward, we hope that a tool like that would potentially help us kind of narrow it down and maybe speed the process up a little bit. But ultimately, this is something that is so human focused, that and to a certain extent, a computer is not always going to be able to know. A lot of times we'll get to somebody and we'll talk through, this person is like this kind of personality type or whatever, and well, on paper, this person looks like makes sense, but then somebody will speak up and go, ooh, that wouldn't work because their personalities are, way too different or maybe way too the same. Things like that you just don't get from a computer. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, and we're still kind of working through that process. But so far, it has been completely manual, and it takes several multiple hour sessions over the course of a few weeks that we just step through every single one, and we kind of have figured out a process for kind of prioritizing different participants to be able to make sure that we're getting the right people to the right other people. I guess, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's a very big and complicated process. But it's been very manual, and we could not have done it without the support from our HR team, and we've had both HR business partners as well as the organizational development team deeply involved in how we've developed this program and how we go through the matching process each year. And so we're getting there, but it is definitely a very manual process that takes a lot of time at this point.
Very, very interesting. I just thought, interesting to dive into there, because I know many companies have come to WIM asking how others are doing it. So I think hearing here, this is a bit of a manual and a time-intensive process, but working for you folks present day.
So far.
But again, you're exploring technology solutions that maybe will help in the future to make it less time-intensive.
Yeah.
So Belinda, would you like to share perhaps
I'll go next.
your mentoring experience?
So as far as a mentee, I guess, when I came into the field, we didn't really have formal programs or anything. However, I really felt like, especially being pretty much the only female in my division at the time when I started, all of my mentors were men. And so don't discount the men. They're there, they're your allies in that. But I am a huge advocate, and I try to support what I can. Our company does have some formal programs now, especially new hires, and we are trying to do our best with women in leadership. We're kind of in our second cohort for that. But I've been working with our local college. We have a partnership with our local college to support the STEM program. So I've been doing that for the past 5 years. In fact, my mentee from 2 years ago was an intern this past summer, so it was exciting. I got to eat lunch with her a couple of times and that. And also, this is my first year that I've joined the mentor program for WIM Virginia. So I'm excited about that, and to learn how I can maybe help somebody that's in the professional field that doesn't work where I work. So.
Very cool. And Kaitlin?
Yes. I would not even be where I am today if it weren't for mentors that I have in my life. And that's why any opportunity that I get to give back and encourage, the next generation, I try to do that. And at Pfizer, we have a few different mentorship programs within our CRGs, or colleague resource groups. And then in addition to that, I have reached out to other women and just started making those connections and asked them to be my mentor. And I also had one of our higher up VPs just reach out to me and was like, hey, I would love to mentor you. And I was like, wow, my name, this is, it was just really impactful that someone saw something in me and has been encouraging me along the way. And in addition to that, I will also say that having a sponsor is also very important, in addition to having a mentor, because it was those male allies that I had that were advocating for me when I started within manufacturing. And I started out not quite so sure of myself and not as confident, and oftentimes I would speak as if I was asking a question instead of being really assertive. And it was in one of my male mentors who would always tell me, like, hey, is that a question or a statement? And it was something that kind of had me, step back and think, okay, I need to sound more assertive when I am speaking in front of a group of people so that I can sort of demand a little bit more of that respect. And it was actually because of him that I was able to move into that process engineering role permanently, because he really advocated for me and, spoke very highly of my skills.
Yeah, there's a huge importance of both, as you said, mentorship and mentors in our lives, and as well as those people that are sponsors who are speaking about us when we're not there, and in rooms when decisions are made about especially these advancement opportunities and promotions, and you need someone to be your advocate there in those spaces too. So we often on Hear Her Story like to share advice. So I thought we could do a round before we close with your final pieces of advice. I'd like to hear your best piece of advice that you have received from someone who you professionally have connected with and or in your personal life, but that best piece of advice that you'd want to share with our audience. So do you want to?
Yes, I will start with this one. So one of the best pieces of advice I had revolved around my struggles with the imposter syndrome. I know it's something that oftentimes women face no matter what industry you're in, but especially I feel like within manufacturing, it's pretty common. And I remember my mentor just telling me, like, Kaitlin, you belong here. Remind yourself of that every day, and having a mantra if you need it. And I oftentimes felt like I couldn't bring my full self in the very beginning. And she always encouraged me, like, if you want to come into work wearing your heels, do that. Like, just really be yourself. And I heard something on a panel at another conference actually that really stuck with me. And it was regarding code switching. And the lady said, what do you gain every time that you code switch? And what do you lose every time? And what are you teaching others about you every time that you code switch? And now ask yourself, is code switching actually serving you? And that's something that has stuck with me to this day, and just reminded me to bring your full self, and just reminding myself that I do belong here.
Good advice. And Belinda?
Yeah, so I think this was really Woody Hayes, I guess, that said it, but I think paying it forward is really something that sticks with me and that I try to do in my personal life and professional life. So that's what I'm going to stick with.
Okay, pay it forward.
I don't know that this was necessarily one person that this came from, but over time something I've learned. I do recall a summit maybe 2 years ago. We had one of the keynote speakers that talked about forming your own personal board of directors. And that actually has come up a lot throughout my career, just in terms of having a variety of kind of advisors, mentors, sponsors, people in your life that you can go to that are kind of a diverse group of themselves, both compared to me and to each other, being able to kind of go to different people for different situations, and sometimes even going to the multiple people for the same situation to get kind of multiple perspectives. I think that's really been kind of a really key thing for me, is just having a handful of different people to go to when I'm facing different things throughout my career and even personal life as well.
That's great, that concept of that personal board of directors. Mm-hmm. And I think, I've heard as well as, recruiting those people that are going to shoot it straight, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to give you your real honest feedback that you need, but also still be your champion and can be a supporter, but they give you that real honest feedback that's necessary. So we always close our Hear Her Story episodes with your final piece of advice to our audience. So listeners who either are in manufacturing careers, or they're maybe thinking about a manufacturing career, or it could be an ally in manufacturing, what is that one best piece of advice you would give to a person in manufacturing presently? Anyone want to start?
I would say, I know I've oftentimes heard people say, like, oh, like, you want to be fearless, but I say feel the fear and do it anyways. So whether that's a new idea that you have, a new innovation, or just a continuous improvement project that you want to implement, just
do it.
Yeah, I like that.
I would say, especially as we're talking about manufacturing, I guess I'll give advice for manufacturing. There's so many avenues. As it was discussed, it's not just engineers, it's purchasing folks, finance, HR. I don't want anybody to be offended, but I won't name all of them. But certainly, but it's the workers on our floor, especially, and we just want to be there and to always respect one another and help one another through. But manufacturing has so many avenues, and it can be, you shouldn't look at it as a job. You should look at it as a career, and be your best self and bring your best self.
Great advice. And Cora?
For me, I think really we often talk about the corporate ladder, and to me, it's really not a ladder. And I believe that you should never be afraid to go in a different direction, and your path may not be up. It may be who knows what directions, and you might take a couple of different turns here and there, but I think that's okay, and I don't think that we should be always so focused on just going straight up a ladder, and being able to kind of broaden our horizons and go in different directions and learn new things is always not only a good thing, but a great opportunity to learn something new and explore new paths. And you might not ever figure out that you actually really didn't think you would want something, and then, hey, I actually love this. You just never know. So that's my advice.
Great. Well, I think great advice. And I just want to say again, thanks Belinda and Coral and Kaitlin for being a part of our Hear Her Story episode, where we're not only celebrating manufacturing, but each of your career journeys. So thanks so much, and please help me in thanking each of them for participating.
Thank you for listening to Hear Her Story, a podcast produced by the Women in Manufacturing Association. Be sure to share, review, and subscribe to Hear Her Story on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen.